It is the Blitz here on 94.1, a San Antonio Sports Star. Maybe you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel. He's Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minnick. Man, tough news last week when we got the press release that the great Bill Land was retiring as the longtime Spurs broadcaster. Reached out to Bill. He joins us now on the Buyers Barricades guest line. And Bill, I can only imagine you make that kind of retirement announcement. Everybody under the sun is reaching out to congratulate you on a great career. Did you get a text or a phone call from somebody that goes, wow, I can't believe I heard from this person?
Well, I got first of all, it's great to be on with you guys. But overall, I've just been overwhelmed by the response. And there's only been a couple of what took you so long. Good riddance.
That's just from Sean Elliott. Come on.
Yeah, that was one of his accounts that we aren't aware that he controls, right?
Yes.
No, but Friday night was going out to dinner with my wife to meet some people, and a FedEx letter arrives, knocks at the door. I thought, what is this? I opened it up, and it was a very nice note from the commissioner, Adam Silver.
Wow.
Nice.
That certainly shocked me. So that would be the one certainly that I'm like, wow, at least somebody told him in the office, here, put your rubber stamp on this. Tell Bill he's okay. But having interviewed Adam a number of times, doesn't surprise me because the guy to me is one of the all-time great commissioners and just a really good guy to go along with it. Totally different personality from his predecessor.
Well, I tell you what, Bill, it was bittersweet for me because just the small amount of time I was able to work with you on some of the broadcasts, you were always very kind and very upbeat, and your style is so unique. I would have to imagine that when you walk away and you realize the impact that you made on so many people, it's got to make you feel great.
Yeah, it's when people send notes that, I mean, you hope that they're entertained, that they enjoy it. And, we've always taken the philosophy, or I have, that anytime you're doing a broadcast, whether it's a talk show or play-by-play or whatever, that if you're having fun, hopefully your audience is having fun. And it's one of the things I enjoy about your guys' show. I can tell you guys are having a ball some days, no matter what you're talking about. And that makes it entertaining. But it's nice when somebody actually responds and gives you a for instance. And one person on Twitter said, I've always enjoyed your "Oh Mama," but for a different reason than what most would be. He said, my grandmother, when she was alive, anytime you would say that, she would say, "Oh, grandmama." So when you find out, hey, if that happened to make somebody's night, man, that's just cool to hear.
It is cool to hear the great Bill Land joining us here on the Blitz. So let's ask, that became your signature call. How did it begin?
Actually, it goes way back to when I went to college. I went to Central Missouri my freshman year and played basketball. Their mass comm department turned out to be not what I thought it was going to be. And I went one weekend with a buddy of mine who was from Edwardsville, Illinois, and visited that campus at SIU at Edwardsville. And it just so happened that the head of the mass comm department, I just walked in cold, told him I was thinking about transferring and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, well, if you transfer here, he goes, well, let me give you a tour. He gave me a tour of the mass comm building and the entire campus, and then told me, he goes, well, when you come back, he goes, are you going to play basketball? And I said, yeah, but I'll have to redshirt. And he goes, well, then you ought to do the color on the campus radio station that year when you're not playing. And I ended up doing that. And my parents lived about 260 miles away up in Northern Illinois and couldn't get the broadcast, obviously. So that became my shout out on an exciting play. It was like, hey, Mom, I'm thinking of you. And that's what it's always been. People have thought it's been something else, but it's just been kind of a shout out to my mother.
I think that's cool, and I know she appreciated that. I would think absolutely, but Bill, when you get a duo, Jason and I have known each other for over 30 years. I hate to say that, but so
Joe's old.
When we
He
came,
used to babysit me.
when we came into this thing, I mean, we had a relationship. You and Sean Elliott had a relationship, and just kind of played off of each other so well. How did that develop, or was that something that just developed right away?
Oh, I mean, you guys know Sean. I mean, he is the greatest guy ever. So it's easy to have a good relationship with a guy like that. And it just, Sean's not afraid to make fun of himself, and yet he still has that aura where, we kid about playing the Memorial Day Miracle as part of his contract, and he goes along with it. And it's just such a good mix, and he's always just I don't know, he's just such an easygoing guy, and I think also that traveling over the years, we always sat next to each other on the plane, and it's not like we were talking the entire time, but you just get to know a guy, and he's almost like a brother, as it turns out. So after a period of a year or two, you just start to click, and he knows when I'm going to lead him into something. I know kind of when he's going to go off on something or whatever, and we give him the space. And there's other times where Joe, you'll remember this, that we always talked about talk back Sean, where there's a talk back switch, for those that don't know, on your headset microphones, to where you can talk to the guys in the truck, the producer and director, and it does not go on the air. Thank goodness.
Yes.
And many times when Sean would get frustrated by the way the team was playing, he is just blasting into the truck, moaning about this or that. Why don't they? And meanwhile, I'm wanting to bring up a point, and I know he's not paying attention at all to what I'm saying. So I would hit talk back and go, Daniel, would you tell Sean I'd like to talk to him a moment if he's got a minute? And Sean would look over like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, almost forgot that, hey, we're still on the air here, buddy. But, that ended up becoming just fun. And I'm just really going to miss that interaction with him on and off the court, and of course, just the entire crew, because we are like our own little family.
You really are. Bill Land, a longtime legendary Spurs broadcaster, joining us here on the Blitz. And Bill, as I texted you the other day on the announcement, as a young broadcaster wanting to do play-by-play coming up, I've learned a lot just from talking to you and watching and listening to you. So I need one more lesson. How do you keep your partner focused and into a conversation when you know damn well he's not paying attention?
You're not talking about Joe right now, are you?
Yes, I am.
Can't
But he's
that.
not paying attention. He didn't hear that.
There have been times when, it's easy with Sean, of course, and Matt Bonner and guys that we've worked with over the years. But when I was doing a lot of college basketball and baseball, football, and all of this stuff, and working with several different announcers and breaking in new people, sometimes you just have to nudge them once in a while, or tell them that, hey, one of the most important things about broadcasting is to actually listen, because nothing's more embarrassing than when either person, play-by-play or color, brings up a point about a game or something, and the other guy or gal is not listening, and 20 seconds later they go, well, the Spurs went to that zone defense, and that's really turned things around. And maybe Sean said that a minute ago. Hey, the turnaround, Bills, when they went to that zone defense. And then the guy at home knows, well, are you not listening?
I just said that.
So that's kind of the example I give to people sometimes, that because we all do it. We all screw up at times. But thankfully in television, where you've got producer, director listening, they remind me many times, or both of us, that hey, so-and-so just said that. Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Bill, I've got to ask you because my claim to fame is I started Ken's TV the same year as Tim Duncan started with the Spurs. I outlasted Tim Duncan, but it seemed like that time just flew by, and how fortunate I was to be able to be on the coattails of the Spurs for those championship runs. Do you look back and, number one, I mean, those 21 years go by pretty quick, but how fortunate we were to be able to witness history like that?
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I think the hardest thing for me to really grasp, and I kept telling myself, because when I started, they were at the beginning of that run, but that team was so good. What was the streak of 50 plus wins for so many years in a row? Was it 18 or something like that? That record will never be broken. I mean, never be broken. But it was easy to fall into this taking them for granted. And I kept telling myself, don't enjoy this. Realize, well, after the last 4 or 5 years, now you realize, wow, what a run that was. And you couldn't help but kind of take it for granted until you've been on the other side and seen the team. And the thing I also tell people is that one of the things with Sean that hit me right away the first year or two would be, they could be playing Dallas. It didn't matter who they were playing. And Spurs are playing poorly to start the game. And it's the second quarter and they're down like 17. And Sean would just say on the air, hey, it's just a matter of time. When our guys get this going, I'd be going like, well, that's awful cocky. What do you because he'd been a part of that program and he knew that team was so good that when they got it going and the team they were playing knew it was going to happen and the Spurs knew it was going to happen. And sure enough, most times the turnaround would come, the Spurs would win. And I would look at Sean and it's like, but because he'd been on the floor and he'd been in those situations and knew how disciplined that team was, he was able to feel that. And it actually took me 2 or 3 years before I would end up feeling the same way, instead of in my own world panicking as a fan thinking, well, they're not going to get it tonight.
Yeah. And again, you think back as we visit with Bill Land here on the Blitz, during those championship years, those teams were so good, must-watch television. Preparing for those kind of games, a little bit easier when you have a great matchup that's going to come down to the wire. How tough has it been the last couple of years? Not last year when you had Wemby as a rookie, but the years, those lean years where I'll give you guys credit, and I know I've told you this, because that team was tough to watch, but you guys made watching the game at least entertaining.
Well, I appreciate that. That is the biggest challenge when you've got a bad game or a team that is, obviously from the get-go, probably not going to make the playoffs or maybe even sniff them like they have the last couple of years. But I think it's a matter of, I keep a little cheat sheet of notes and stuff, and I usually have that written down, anywhere to 9 to 10 things that I want to bring up during a telecast that would fill kind of dead periods or things are a little slow. And so if it's a 25-point game in the third quarter and the Spurs are down, all right, we're not going to do play-by-play and color so much. I'll try to get Sean into a topic, whether it's about something about the Spurs, the other team, something that's going on in the league. Maybe there's another game that night that something crazy has happened. And, to try to balance it with not ignoring the game, but also not beating up the Spurs, because I always looked at it when the Spurs weren't playing. When the Spurs were playing great, we weren't hammering other teams. We were talking about how well the Spurs are playing. Well, now that they're getting beat, shouldn't we be talking about how well the opponent is playing? And that doesn't mean not point out what the Spurs are doing wrong. And that's one of the things I've always respected about Sean is that, we're homers. We want them to win. We know who writes the checks. But I felt that over the years, we've always reported objectively. And Sean, I know how many times where he's jumped on them, and he's heard about it sometimes from Pop or some other people, but he's just been honest about it. And we don't beat him up, but you've got to maintain your credibility as a broadcaster too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the joke was, Bill, I remember you just wind Sean up and let him go, and that's pretty much all you have to do. But I do have to ask you, because everybody cares about you, Bill. How are you doing and feeling and all of that stuff? Can you give us an update?
Sure. Had 2 doctor's appointments today, but that's the good news. Things are going well.
Good.
With this multiple myeloma, it's not curable, but it's very treatable. And I had a stem cell transplant back on May 10th, and they said there's like a 100-day recovery period for that. And 100 days was August 18th, and I've been back to the doctor several times, blood test, and I'll visit with a transplant doctor next week. And so far, everything has come back in great shape. I feel better than I have in a long time. I mean, even from before I was even diagnosed. Playing golf, doing whatever I want to do. I still have to be careful about just taking care of myself and getting sleep and rest, because when they gave me a blast of chemo before the stem cell transplant, it knocks out every bit of the cancer, but it also knocked out my immunization system. So you're like a baby, and you have to build that up again over time. I'll have to get vaccinations and things just like you were when you were a little kid. So you have to be careful of that. But been traveling lately, and we got a bunch of travel planned this fall to different places to enjoy. I suffer once in a while from a little bit of fatigue, but even that has become less and less of late. So and I've told some people that they put some very nice posts on social media, whatever. I think I replied to one guy, said, "Hey, I thank you for your concern, but I'm still alive." And in fact, I'm feeling really good, and I'm knocking on wood that I can extend this thing for a long, long time. And if and when it does come back, then there are newer, better treatments that can handle it. But I appreciate you asking, and I'm feeling great right now.
I love hearing that update, and I'm glad you're feeling great, because a lot of the comments that I was seeing on social or people that we were talking to was, he announced his retirement. And I'm glad to hear that's not the case. So the decision to hang up that microphone now, go live life, travel, and do things, right? And don't need to work anymore.
Yeah. And to be totally honest, last summer, I was actually thinking that this past season might be my last, that I was going to retire. And then when I got diagnosed right before the season started, it kind of floored me. But it was like, man, I want to do everything I can to do as many games this year. I was going to cut back anyway. And the team was great about, allowing me to, if I had treatments or whatever, there's occasionally I'd have to miss a game or two. And I predominantly did most of the home games and a few road games, but it was a great distraction instead of just sitting around just, okay, how do I feel today? No, I got things to do. I got to get ready for the game. And doing the games was a little more difficult because with the drugs and stuff that they're giving you, some of it causes a little brain fog, and just had to focus maybe harder than I ever have to make sure I was on target. And I'm sure I made more mistakes than I ever have. And I appreciate the fans not beating me up about it. But, and the crew did a great job of letting me know if something, and it might be something as simple as, you guys can all relate to where you got 30 seconds before you're coming out of a break, and Daniel Ashcraft, our producer, is going, "All right, coming back here, Bill, we got replay on Wemby's dunk. Throw it to Dan for an update on some stat stuff, and then come back and lead Sean into such and such with that promo." Okay. And about 5 seconds before we come out of the break, I'd hit talk back and go, "What was the order of that? Where are we going?" whereas normally you're kind of on autopilot, or, the deal. So it was that kind of thing. And this summer when I started feeling better and better after having the transplant, when I decided to meet with Mike Ciccarillo and let him know that I'm ready to step down, I just kind of explained to him that, if for some reason this remission doesn't last very long and it would come back this next season and I was working, I'd feel awful that, first of all, it's cheating the broadcast, it's cheating the fans, it's not fair to the crew to have to deal with all that again. And, I wouldn't want to go through that. And because I feel so good now, I realize how poorly I was feeling at the time, but you just kind of block it out. And I said, the other part of it is, your players say many times about, hey, if you're thinking it's about time to retire, well, then you're probably right. It is.
Yes.
And I go back to last year, I was thinking about that. So, let's move on and give somebody else an opportunity to enjoy that great job.
Now, Bill, the Spurs are going to honor you, my understanding, at the home opener. Is that correct?
That's what I'm told.
Are you going to be in town?
Yeah. They said, here's the date. I think I can fit that in my schedule if you're going to say good things about me. I said, I'm hoping they give me a golden microphone, but I'm afraid it might be a metal muzzle. But I don't know exactly what their plans are, but I'm so appreciative that they actually want to do something like that. I'm really looking forward to it.
No, you deserve it, my friend.
You certainly deserve it.
Thanks, fellas.
As a guy in broadcasting, I think we can all relate. When you get to go out on your own terms, that is a very special thing in this business. And more importantly, you're going out on your terms and feeling a lot better and in remission, which great news all the way around. Get working on that golf game, though, and enjoy the travels. Appreciate you jumping on with us, Bill.
You must have seen me play Saturday. I need some work on that golf game.
Great
hey,
stuff.
Don't we all?
Fellas, thanks so much. Love you guys.
Appreciate it. Love you. Bill Land on the Buyers Barricades guest line, where they provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond, online at buyersbarricades.com.